Today, I'll lead you through a stretching flow practice where we explore the use of blocks. So our focus throughout the practice is playing with the blocks and seeing how they can enhance our practice in varying poses. Let's get started. As the practice name suggests, we would need a couple of blocks for today's practice. So if you have yoga blocks, use them. You could also use some stacks of books or boxes, sturdy boxes that you can use under hands, under your body as we go through the practice. And then when you have everything ready, just bring yourself into child's pose. That's our first pose. And as we go through the practice, I will explain how the blocks might enhance our practice, our poses. And in this first child's pose, I'm suggesting to bring the blocks under the hands or under the elbows. So elevating arms off the mat, head can still lean down. And with this version of child's pose, we might get a bigger stretch in the arms, in the shoulders, in the upper back. Of course, if this creates any pain or pinching sensations in your body, then you are more than welcome to ignore the blocks. You can do child's pose without the blocks as well. Give yourself a few more breaths here, just taking some time to arrive into your practice. And especially if you don't normally use blocks in your child's pose this way, just observe how the pose might feel different. Can we still soften the neck? Can we still let the head lean down? Can we still soften through the hips and through the lower back? And if, like I said, if you find the blocks stopping you finding your safe edge in the poses, then feel free to push them aside. And then with your next couple of breaths, slowly bring yourself up from that child's pose. And then I'll suggest we'll lean elbows, forearms onto the blocks and slowly lower the pelvis down, opening the chest into a sphinx back bend. So here with the blocks, we can elevate our upper body, our chest slightly further away from the mat. So we might find a slightly different angle for the back bend. Some people might experience this as a more intense back bend, but this depends very much on your spine. It might be that some people find this is a more gentle option when we can change the angle of the back bend slightly. So blocks can both make the poses a bit more gentle, but they can also make them more intense. So it's just important to find poses where they can enhance your practice. There's no one size that fits all. So that's why we'll just explore the blocks and their use today. Let's take another breath here, in and out. And then start to draw in through the belly, start to lift your pelvis off the mat and bring yourself up onto elbows and knees. From there you can lift yourself onto hands and knees, and you put one block aside, the one that was on the left hand side, and then bring your right hand onto a block. Step your left foot forward, and we're going to arrive into a runner's lunge. So we'll lift the right knee off the mat, and then as you breathe in, twist out to the left. You might reach your left arm up, or you might bring your left arm behind the back. And what the block might do here, it gives a bit more length for that arm that is pushing the floor away, so we might get a bit more space to twist. And especially if you have long bones in your shins compared to your arm bones, then this might be a really nice extra space for the lunge. From here, with your next breath, we'll lower the right knee onto the mat. And now you could stay here, but I'll also show you how using the block under the hand might help you reach for the back leg foot. So if you feel that it's not too early in the practice, you might now bend your right knee and reach your left hand to that right foot. And as we have that block under the right hand, this might feel slightly easier than when we have hand on the mat, just because we have brought our back slightly higher up. We're a bit closer to that back leg foot. Now let's take another breath in and out. And then slowly release that right foot down. Bring your both hands down, and this is where we can bring the second block back in. So now, having both hands on blocks, extending the left leg, the front leg in front of us, and then with an exhalation, leaning into a forward bend, so leaning over that left leg. Again, the blocks under hands give a bit more space to lean into that forward bend. And especially if there's a lot of tightness along the back side of the body, then having those blocks might be a really nice addition. It might actually give us some more time in the pose. You might also turn the blocks to be a bit higher up, and that might make things even better. It might make the pose a bit more accessible, especially if there is a lot of tightness along the back side of the body. Let's take another breath here, in and out. And then slowly bring your both knees back onto the mat. And now you can bring hands on the mat. We'll turn the block to be a bit higher up, so like a high pillar, and we'll go into a downward dog. So we're going to lift the pelvis up, and then we're going to use the block under the head. So see if you could lean maybe the forehead or crown of the head onto the block. Knees could be bent. And here the block under the head, it might just give, at least for me, it gives a bit more of a grounded sensation, and I feel like I have some more support for the upper body. I'm not putting weight onto the head or neck. It's just having that little extra support and contact point under the head. Of course, depending on your neck, your head, your pose, it might be that the block needs to be a low block, and we'll explore that a bit later on. Now, from this downward dog, we are going to go into a pigeon pose. So what we'll do, we'll take the right leg and bring the right knee, the right shin on the mat. And then I'll bring a block under the right buttock, under the right thigh, so that rather than leaning pelvis all the way down on the mat, I'm now keeping the pelvis just a bit higher up when it's on top of the block. That makes things a bit easier for my hip, but especially for my right knee. There's less pressure in the right knee joint. And you might bring a block under your head or under the chest as we slowly lean into a forward bending sleeping pigeon. And of course, when we lean forward, things might change in the pelvic area. We are in a slightly different angle. So even if you use a block when you're upright in that proud pigeon, it might be that when you lean forward, you might want to adjust those props, and that's very, very fine. Take a couple more breaths in your pigeon wherever you are. And then slowly find your hands back onto the mat and bring yourself back up. Now we're going to go into a half squat. So if you have that block there under the pelvis, just leave the block there. Tuck your left foot toes under and then push the floor away, stepping that right foot back onto the mat. And then we're going to turn towards the left side. And here, as we find our half squat, we'll leave the left leg long. I have a block now under the pelvis, so I'm actually sitting on the block, and then my right leg is in that squatting pose. So again, what the block here does, it takes pressure off the knees, it takes some pressure off the hip joints, as now the weight of the pelvis is supported on top of the block rather than the heavy pelvis hanging in the air. And you might bring palms together in front of the chest, so your right elbow is supporting that right knee, right thigh, if that feels good. The block might also make things easier for bringing the back upright when there is that support under the pelvis. So feel free to try. And for some people, it takes pressure off the ankles as well. For some people, the squat is a big challenge because the ankle joint doesn't have that much flexion. So then having the block as a support might allow us to bring heels down and take some of the stress and pressure off the ankles as well. Let's continue. So now from our half squat, we are going to turn over to the right. So we'll bring hands onto the mat. We'll go via that squat, and then we're going to turn all the way to the other side of the mat into the mermaid pose. So we're going to extend or keep that left leg extended, and here we are looking for a stretch for that left side body. And here, having a block under that left hand might enhance the stretch because it gives us a bit more space to push away. It might make things more intense along that left side. It might just change the angle as well. And you decide if you let that left shoulder lean up towards the ear or if you're actively pushing the shoulder down. Take a couple more breaths in and out here. And again, using the block is very optional. And then slowly we'll start to find our way back into a downward facing dog. So just turn towards the mat. Step your both feet back. And this time we'll use the block as a lower block under the head. So if you earlier had the block in that high pillar shape, now try turning the block sideways so it's a bit lower down. And how would it feel to lean your head onto the block now? For me, in the previous version, I had my forehead on the block. Now I can more comfortably bring the crown of the head onto the block. But again, it's just that little support, not leaning your weight onto the head or onto the neck. It's just that little contact point that might make the pose feel more stable. And then we'll slowly come back down. And then we're going to stay on all fours. And now we'll use, again, blocks under the elbows. And we're going to go into the disco cat movement, having weight on the elbows and knees. And this variation can be really nice for cat-cows, disco cats, especially if you have any injuries, pain in the wrist or hand area. Let's change the direction. Of course, you could lean elbows all the way down onto the mat. But sometimes that might feel like then we don't have enough space to move, to round the back if we're doing cat-cows. So elevating slightly off the mat with the blocks can be a really nice option. And then we'll let those circles calm down. We'll go back into child's pose, but this time we're going to keep elbows bent, lift hands up towards the ceiling, and then lean head down. So now it's specifically elbows onto the blocks, and we're really focusing on opening through the back side of the arms. You might feel this in the shoulders as well. You can let your hands drop down behind the head, behind the neck. Take a couple more breaths in and out. And then slowly release the hands. Bring yourself up onto hands and knees. And we're going to go into that runner's lunge on the other side. So we'll now put the right hand side block away. Bring left hand onto a block and step your right foot forward. lift the left knee off the mat. So finding that runner's lunge. And from there, inhale, twist out to the right. The right arm could also be behind the back. And again, just having that little elevation under the left hand and arm can give quite a lot of space to twist more, to lift away from the mat. Take another breath in and out. And then slowly lower that left knee onto the mat. And again, you might, if you did on the first side, you might bend that left knee, reach right hand for the left foot. So you might opt for that. Another variation that you could do with a block would be to bring that left elbow now onto the block. So go lower down in that lunge. So there are different ways of using the blocks to enhance our practice. Wherever you are, on your elbow or holding that left foot, take one more breath. And then slowly release the pose. Bring both hands on the mat. We'll bring both blocks back in. So now again, we'll use the blocks under the hands as we extend the front leg. And you decide how high those blocks need to be. Again, maybe one side is tighter than the other, and it might be nicer to be higher up on one side. So let yourself play with the props. Let them enhance your practice. It's normal that we are asymmetrical, and one side might need different kind of propping than the other. Let's take another breath or two in and out here. And then we're going to step that right knee back onto the mat. And we're going to prepare for the pigeon on the other side. So just a brief lift up through the pelvis, so you can then bring your left knee, left shin forward. And this time again, we might have one block under that left buttock, thigh. We might also use another block under the front of the back leg hip. So that might also give more space for the front leg, for the back leg, for the lower back. So having both sides of the pelvis elevated. And we might lean forward. Of course, you might use those props under your head or under the chest. But again, one side of the body might need a different kind of support. And that is something that makes blocks very versatile, especially if you have two blocks. They can offer support in one pose in multiple places. So they are quite handy props. Of course, you could have more than two. You could have 10 blocks supporting different areas of the body. Take another breath in and out. we'll slowly lift back up onto the hands, and we'll travel to that half squat. So lift the pelvis up so you can step your left foot onto the mat and then turn over to the right into that half squat pose. And again, I have the block under the pelvis. Now here, one way we could also use a block would be to place a block under that extended leg, foot or ankle or knee, and that might change the sensations. You might change angles in the body to either make the pose more gentle or make the pose more intense. Breathing here in and out. You start to feel sensations of overextending that extended leg, knee, then bring a block there under the knee. Give yourself a couple more breaths in and out. And send those breaths to areas that need it most, where you feel this pose most. And then we'll start to unravel this pose. We're going to travel to that mermaid. So turn towards the left. Bring yourself up into that lunge and then turn to the other long side of the mat. So again, leaving now the right leg extended, and you might bring a block under the right hand here. One other way people use blocks here is to elevate, again, that extended leg, foot off the mat. And that might make things more intense as well. Now, I need to choose. Personally, I need to choose one block or the other. I can't have a block under the hand and the foot. They're both making this pose more intense for me. So I'm making the choice of having it now under the foot, but you can choose your own variation. Of course, might be that you don't want to use any blocks in this pose. Take another couple of breaths in and out. And then we'll slowly release this pose by turning into a seat. And we're going to go into a couple of back bends. First one, supported back bend. I'm suggesting to bring 2 blocks under the back and under the head. So one kind of between the shoulder blades in the upper back, and then another one under the head. And it might take a bit of time to find where your blocks need to be. But bringing one there between the shoulder blades, and then some people might not use another block under the head at all. Or you might enjoy having the block somewhere lower down. But in this variation, we are keeping the pelvis on the mat. You could then open arms out to the sides. You could keep your knees bent. You might extend the legs. You might even bring the legs into a butterfly shape if that feels good. We're looking for that opening across the chest. Give yourself a few more slow breaths in and out, and feel free to adjust the legs. You can play with that shape in the legs as well. Then to come out of this pose, I'm suggesting to bend the knees and then roll down onto one side. Rather than jump up into a seat, roll onto one side so that you can just pull or push the blocks aside and bring yourself onto the mat. And see how you feel. If you feel that you want to hug the knees in, before we do one more back bend, you could hug the knees in. And then we're going to go into the bridge pose, and I'll show just a couple of different ways you could use a block for the bridge. First one, we'll bring a block between the legs. This might help with some engagement, core engagement. And we'll have the other block ready because we are going to end up in a supported bridge. So we'll start with a block between the legs. And we'll just move up and down a few times. As you exhale, press the feet on the mat. Elevate your pelvis off the floor, keeping the block between the legs. And then slowly with the next breath, lower down. Inhale on the mat. And then again. With the next exhalation, press the feet down to lift your pelvis, your back slightly off the mat. We're just kind of testing the bridge, but also we are gently hugging the block between the thighs. And again, exhale, lower down. Now for the next round, we'll have the second block ready as well. So one more time as you exhale, lift your pelvis off the mat. And then bring a block under the pelvis so that your pelvis can rest on top of that support. And then we can take away the block from between the legs. You might even walk your feet a bit wider apart. And now we are resting our pelvis on top of that block, so supported bridge. Softening the buttocks, softening the thighs. Creating more of an opening at the front of the hips, the lower belly area. You might bring arms overhead if that feels good. Just let yourself feel that difference in your bridge pose now that it's supported. And of course you can have the block as a very low block You can turn it sideways. You can even turn it into a high pillar, so you can play with the height of that prop. How high up do you want your pelvis to be? Let yourself play with that block. Take a couple more breaths in and out here. You can send your breaths all the way up towards the belly. And then if you have your arms overhead, just slowly slide your arms back down and press the feet on the mat so that you can elevate the pelvis off the block, pull the block aside and release your back onto the mat. And again, if there's any movement needed or counter poses, you might hug your knees in, swing your legs from side to side. And then we'll find Shavasana pose. If you like, for Shavasana pose, you might bring blocks under your knees, under your thighs. That might make things a bit softer, a bit easier for your back, for your hips. If you know that you have any achiness, maybe in the lower back. But of course, that's, again, just an option, just one way of using blocks in Shavasana pose. Give yourself a moment to rest. If your neck feels tense, you might rock your head from side to side. Notice your breath here. Give yourself a few slightly slower, slightly longer breaths in and out. Take a few more breaths in and out in your resting pose. Exhale any tension there might be left. Tension that you don't need right now. And then if you'd like to continue this Shavasana pose, you are more than welcome to make it longer. You can stay here as long as you want, as long as you need today. Or if you feel that you're ready to start slowly closing your practice, then roll down onto one side. It could be the left or the right side. Which one feels easier, feels more natural to you now? could pause there for a couple of breaths. And then in your own time, bring yourself up into a seat. And with our block theme, now you could bring a block under the pelvis as you find your final seated pose. See how that feels. It might make things easier for the hips, for the back, for the shoulders. Take a couple of breaths in and out here. Closing the practice. And if it's a part of your practice, you can bring your palms together in front of the chest. And as always, at the end of the practice, most importantly, thank yourself for bringing yourself onto the mat, into your body and into your practice. Namaste. Thank you.